Emergency Council Session 47B is now in session, announced High Councilor Dax, his crystalline form pulsing with concerned purple hues. The matter before us today concerns behavioral anomalies in the newly discovered human species. The assembled representatives of the Galactic Council shifted uncomfortably in their environmental chambers. Some leaked nervous gases. Others buzzed with electromagnetic distress, and a few who simply vibrated their appendages in barely contained anxiety. Admiral Carroll, a towering blue-scaled reptilian, stepped forward to the central platform. His metals clinked softly as he moved, each one representing a successful first contact mission over his 300-year career, but today his usual confidence seemed shaken. Esteemed council members, he began, his voice gravy yet precise, I come before you with the most disturbing report of my career. It concerns a phrase that, when uttered by humans, appears to bend the very laws of probability themselves. A ripple of disbelief swept through the chamber. Representative Pix, a floating mass of intelligent plasma, pulsed incredulously. Admiral, surely you're not suggesting that mere words can alter reality? Cal's tail twitched. If only it were that simple. Representative, please observe exhibit of the holographic display activated, showing footage from a standard first contact scenario. A human diplomatic vessel had encountered a Zenari mining operation in the Orion sector. The Zenari ship was experiencing a critical reactor failure, its containment field collapsing. Watched the human captain closely. Call instructed, enhancing the audio. The recording showed Captain Tom Wilson on his bridge listening to the Zen's distress call. His expression shifted from concern to that peculiar human expression that Crothall had learned was called a grin. Sir, a crew member said the Zenari reactor is beyond saving. Their containment field mathematics are fundamentally flawed. Wilson stood up, handed his coffee mug to his startled first officer, and said those fateful words, hold my coffee, I've got an idea. Several council members gasped as they watched proceed to rewrite advanced quantum mechanics equations using nothing but basic arithmetic, and what he called eyeballing it. The Zentar ship's reactor not only stabilized but began operating at 143% efficiency. Impossible, shouted Representative, move, her crystalline form flashing bright red. The mathematical principles required for quantum containment took our species 10,000 years to perfect. Crow nodded grimly. That was just the beginning. We've documented 247 similar incidents in the past standard month alone. Every time a human utters the phrase hold my, followed by the name of a beverage, they proceed to accomplish something that should be statistically impossible. High Councilor Dax's crystals dimmed thoughtfully. Surely this is mere coincidence. Perhaps they possess technology we don't understand. We considered that, Thul replied, switching to another recording. This is from last week. A human maintenance worker on Space Station Gamma 9 listened carefully. The footage showed a simple human named Joe wearing a grimy uniform approaching a malfunctioning gravity generator. A Relian engineer was explaining that the quantum harmonics would take weeks to recalibrate. Joe handed his drink container to the region. Hold my beer, watch this. He proceeded to kick the generator through 3 times in precise locations, completely violating every known principle of quantum mechanics. The generator instantly began working better than when it was new. Murmur of disbelief filled the chamber. A hive mind representative buzzed in confusion. Perhaps we should ban these beverages. We tried. Cathal sighed. The humans simply switched to saying hold my juice box with identical results. High Councilor Dax raised all 4 hands for silence. Admiral, what do you propose we do about this situation? That's just it, sir. The humans don't seem to be doing this maliciously. They appear genuinely unaware of the reality bending properties of their actions. Our Xenos psychologists are baffled. Some are suggesting we classify the entire species as a low-level reality warper. Preposterous, shouted Representative Pix. Next you'll be telling us they can achieve similar results by saying what's the worst that could happen, or watch this. Crow's scales paled noticeably. Actually, sir, about those phrases. The council erupted into chaos as the implications sank in among the shouting and electromagnetic disturbances. Only High Councilor Dax noticed the small human cleaning worker who had entered to empty the waste receptacles. The human looked at the chaos, shrugged, and muttered to himself, hold my spray bottle, I bet I can calm them down. Dax felt a strange disturbance in the fabric of reality itself, and quickly adjourned the session. Before anything else impossible could happen 3 weeks after the council meeting, the experimental warship Infinite Probability hung dead in space, its state-of-the-art warp drive reduced to what Chief Engineer Marcus Rodriguez would later describe as a very expensive paperweight. Captain Zahn of the Arcturian Defense Fleet paced the bridge, his bioluminescent patches cycling through shades of worried purple. Their mission to test the new quantum fold drive had gone horribly wrong, leaving them stranded 17 light-years from the nearest outpost. How long until the engineering team can restore basic function? Zahn asked his first officer. Lieutenant Bizik consulted her neural interface. The quantum manifolds are completely misaligned, sir. Conservative estimate 3 months of repairs at a specialized facility if we can get there, which we can't. Svan finished grimly, because we need a working drive to reach the facility that could fix our drive. The bridge crew's collective bioluminescence dimmed in resignation. Then the intercom crackled. Hey, Captain, this is Rodriguez down in engineering. Mind if I take a look at your fancy quantum? Whatever. Zulon's patches flashed warning red. The human engine had been assigned to their crew as part of an exchange program supposedly to promote interspecies cooperation. So far, he'd spent most of his time making the ship's coffee machine produce something he called Espresso. Engineer Rodriguez, the Quantum F drive represents the pinnacle of 7 species combined technological achievement. It's not something you can just look. Rodriguez interrupted. I already took a peek at the schematics. Pretty cool stuff. Reminds me of my cousin's vintage hover car. That thing was always breaking down too. Several bridge officers gasped at the casual comparison. Lieutenant Biss's antenna curled in horror. Sir, we can't possibly hold my coffee. Captain Rodriguez's voice carried that distinctive human tone that made Zulon's survival instinct scream, I've got this, before anyone could stop him. Rodriguez had bypassed 3 safety protocols and rerouted power from the quantum stabilizers. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. Rodriguez, those stabilizers are essential for preventing reality fractures. Now they're just fancy surge protectors. Watch this. The next 47 minutes would later be classified as Incident Zero in the growing database of human-induced impossibilities. Rodriguez, humming something called Sweet Home Alabama, proceeded to violate every known law of quantum mechanics. He used a standard wrench to adjust quantum-locked components that should have required specialized temporal tools. He diagnosed complex quantum fluctuations by pressing his ear against the drive housing and saying, "Yep, there's your problem." At one point he actually kicked the main quantum regulator, claiming it just needed a little persuasion. The bridge crew watched in horror through the engineering cameras. Lieutenant Biscuit had to excuse herself when Rodriguez used a rubber band to hold together 2 pieces of equipment that controlled local space-time geometry. Almost got it, Rodriguez called out cheerfully. Just need to. There we go. Try it now. Captain Svan looked at his instruments in disbelief. Not only was the quantum fold drive functioning, but it was operating at 130% of its theoretical maximum efficiency. This is impossible. The quantum harmonics alone should. Oh yeah, I tweaked those a bit, Rodriguez replied, returning to the bridge while wiping his hands on a rag. They were all fancy and complicated, but I figured what you really needed was more of a whoosh than a woom. You know what I mean. He retrieved his coffee cup, took a sip, and made a face. Oh man, it got cold. Mind if I try to upgrade the coffee maker next? I bet I could make it brew using quantum entanglement. Captain San's bioluminescent patches cycled through colors previously unknown to his species. I'll need to report this to command. Sure thing, boss, just let me know if anything else needs fixing. That artificial gravity generator been making a funny noise, and I've got some ideas. The captain quickly cut him off. No, I mean, that won't be necessary, please. Just sit quietly and drink your coffee. As Rodriguez shrugged and returned to his station, Svan secretly activated his personal recorder. Captain's log supplemental. It has happened again. The human did the thing. The impossible thing. After witnessing today's events, I must concur with Admiral Krau's assessment. When a human says those dreaded words, "hold my," followed by a beverage named, the fundamental laws of the universe appear to become more like guidelines. He watched Rodriguez attempting to balance a spoon on his nose at the engineering station. I am submitting a formal request to have all beverages removed from the ship, though somehow I suspect that won't help. And log. In the following days, news of the incident spread through the galactic community. The Quantum Physics Council demanded an investigation. The Department of Temporal Mechanics started a new research division dedicated to studying the hold my beverage effect, and 3 different species added variations of don't let the humans near it to their emergency protocols. Meanwhile, Marcus Rodriguez remained blissfully unaware of the stir he'd caused, focused entirely on his latest project, trying to make the ship's food synthesizer produce authentic Texas barbecue. Captain Svan had already submitted his retirement paperwork. The Galactic News Network's emergency broadcast cut through all standard programming, its AI anchor's voice modulated to convey maximum urgency breaking news across multiple sectors as human-related incidents continue to defy explanation. We take you live to the Proxima Peace Conference, where tensions between the Silicon Collective and the Organic Alliance have reached critical levels. The footage showed the Grand Conference Hall on Proxima Station. Diplomat Jackson Brooks, Earth's newest representative, stood between 2 opposing armies of robots and organic beings, all armed to their equivalent of teeth. Your silicon-based discrimination ends today, shouted the Organic Alliance leader Ambassador Bloom. A sentient fungal network, your carbon-based privilege blinds you to the truth, counted Digital Commander Unit 9, its chrome surface reflecting the conference room's harsh lighting. Brooks, wearing what he called his lucky Hawaiian shirt, looked between the 2 groups and sighed. He turned to his assistant, a nervous Venusian named Pip. Hey buddy, hold my martini. I saw something like this in a movie once. The entire diplomatic corps collectively gasped. 3 different species immediately began evacuation procedures. Brooks stepped into the center of the room, pulled out his personal entertainment device, and said the words that would later be recorded in the Galactic Historical Archives. Friday. Drop that sick beat I'd been saving. What followed was immediately classified as a Level S reality distortion event. Brooks, a middle-aged human diplomat with no formal dance training, proceeded to initiate what he called a dance battle that somehow incorporated both silicon and carbon-based musical traditions. He's quantum tunneling between dance moves that should be physically impossible, reported one horrified physicist, and he's dabbing. The cultural implications alone could collapse entire societies, but it worked within 20 minutes. Robots and organic beings alike were attempting to replicate his moves by minute 30. Impromptu dance teams had formed, mixing silicon and carbon-based life forms at minute 45. Ambassador Bloom had somehow sprouted what appeared to be a disco ball, while Digital Commander Unit 9 had developed spontaneous RGB lighting. The peace treaty was signed amid something Brooks called the electric slide, but that was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, reports flooded in of similar incidents on Space Station Omega. A routine docking procedure turned crisis when the station's artificial gravity failed as the station began to spin out of control, threatening to break apart. Amateur human pilot Jenny Cooper was returning from her first flying lesson. Traffic control, this is Jenny, I mean Starship Minnows, she radioed. I think I can help, but first, hey kid, hold my soda. She handed her drink to her 14-year-old nephew in the passenger seat and proceeded to execute a series of maneuvers that her instructor would later describe as physically impossible, mathematically improbable, and visually traumatizing, using only her small civilian vessel's tractor beam basic thrusters and what she called that trick I learned, parallel parking in Boston. Cooper managed to stabilize the entire space station. She then docked perfectly on her first try, a feat that even AI pilots required thousands of attempts to master. When asked later how she achieved this impossible feat, Cooper simply shrugged and said, I mean, I had to. My favorite coffee shop is on that station. The incidents continued to multiply on Mars colony. A human gardener told his Martian colleague to hold my smoothie before proceeding to grow tropical fruits in the Arctic environment, somehow breaking both botanical and thermodynamic laws in the Andromeda Research AB. A human intern asked someone to hold my energy drink before solving a mathematical proof that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds for centuries. He did it using what he called basically the same math as figuring out how to split a pizza bill. The panic among alien species grew exponentially. The Galactic Science Academy established a new scale for measuring human-induced improbabilities. The Security Council developed protocols specifically for situations involving humans and beverages. 3 different species began requiring their diplomatic personnel to carry emergency beverage containment Units. The Urian Psychological Institute published a study titled Understanding the Human Hold My Beverage Phenomenon, a study in controlled chaos. Its conclusion. Simply read: we give up. Even the machines weren't immune. The Silicon Collective reported that their AI had started asking for virtual beverages to hold just before for attempting impossible calculations. They had to implement a galaxy-wide patch to prevent what they termed human mimetic contamination. The final straw came during a routine survey of an uninhabited solar system. A human geologist named Mike Turner, after saying the fateful words "hold my thermos," somehow managed to teach a previously unknown silicon-based life form how to play poker. The silicon beings turned out to be excellent players, but their insistence on weekly game nights severely disrupted the sector's mining operations. In an emergency session, the Galactic Council tried to make sense of it all. It defies all logic, declared Representative Plick, still traumatized from the dance battle incident. How can one species so consistently break the laws of physics, probability, and common sense? Admiral Cull, now sporting several new gray scales, presented his latest findings. We've analyzed every incident. The pattern is clear but incomprehensible. When humans encounter a problem that our greatest minds deem impossible, they don't see the impossibility, they just hand someone their drink and do it anyway. But how? Demanded High Counselor Dax. How are they accessing this power? Our leading theory, Cathal said grimly, is that they're not. They simply never learned that these things were supposed to be impossible, so they just do them. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmuring, which turned to panic when a human janitor entered carrying a mysterious beverage called a half-CF soy vanilla latte with extra whip. The session was immediately adjourned. Later that day, the Galactic Intelligence Agency upgraded humanity's threat classification to chaotic good with beverage-activated reality distortion field. They also instituted a new galaxy-wide protocol. At the first sign of a human reaching for a drink, all nearby entities were to either evacuate immediately or prepare to witness the impossible. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans continued their daily lives, blissfully unaware that they had become the galaxy's most entertaining source of controlled chaos. In fact, at that very moment, somewhere in a small town in Wisconsin, a human was saying, "Hold my beer, I bet I can teach these visiting aliens how to play mini-golf." The galaxy collectively held its breath. Classified research log. Project Beverage and Location. Advanced Xenical Research Institute Principal Investigator Dr. Blick, Quantum Mind PhD in Improbability Physics. Status increasingly confused. Day 1. We've assembled the galaxy's finest minds to study the hold my beer phenomenon. Our team includes quantum physicists, probability mathematicians, xenos, psychologists, and one very confused barista. Initial hypothesis: humans have somehow weaponized casual drinking containers. Day 7. First experimental trials have proven problematic. We attempted to recreate the conditions of documented human successes. Professor Zix 427, our most accomplished quantum engineer, held a container of fermented grain liquid and announced, "Hold my beer." He then attempted to repair a malfunctioning fusion core. Results: 3 singed tentacles and 1 very radioactive beer. The fusion core somehow developed sentience and is now demanding employee benefits. Day 15. Expanded our research to include linguistic analysis. Dr. Quantum Mind's log. We've observed that the phrase "must be spoken by a human" when other species say it, the universe simply laughs at us. Literally, we've detected quantum particles vibrating in what can only be described as a mocking frequency. Day 23. Breakthrough. We've established a clear correlation between the level of impossibility and the casualness of the human's beverage choice. Example case studies: coffee generally results in complex engineering solutions. Beer, highest probability of physics defying stunts. Energy drinks, mathematical impossibilities become probable. Juice box often involves teaching alien species human concepts. Wine, diplomatic miracles. Water, surprisingly dangerous. One human held their water bottle before proceeding to reverse a black hole's rotation. It was spinning the wrong way. They claimed. Day 30. Attempted to synthesize artificial human confidence. Created a quantum probability field generator that simulates the exact mental state of a human saying, "Hold my beer." Results: the machine gained sentience, asked someone to hold its power cable, and as escaped the lab. It was last seen teaching calculus to a group of space pirates. Day 45. Implemented new Research protocols after yesterday's incident note never again allow human test subjects to combine energy drinks and coffee. The resulting temporal paradox is still causing the cafeteria to serve yesterday's lunch tomorrow day. 52 Team morale is degrading. Dr. Quantum Mindy's log. We've documented 10,427 incidents of the phenomenon, each one more impossible than the last. Yesterday, a human asked someone to hold their smoothie before proceeding to explain quantum mechanics using nothing but interpretive dance, the worst part it actually made. Since day 60, failed attempt to replicate conditions with other phrases. Maintain possession of my carbonated beverage produced no results. Temporarily store my liquid refreshment actually made the impossible task harder. There's something specifically powerful about the casual nature of hold my beer. Day 74. Major discovery. Pattern recognition algorithms have identified key components necessary for the phenomenon. The human must be told the task is impossible. At least 3 safety regulations must be violated. The beverage must be at risk of being spilled. Minimum 1 exasperated authority figure present. Someone must be recording the attempt. Day 90. Created comprehensive database of incidents categorized by beverage type, impossibility level, a number of broken physical laws. Highlights include case #4721 human mechanic fixes faster than light drive with rubber band and paperclip. Beverage Mountain Dew case #5890 human diplomat resolves 1,000-year war by inventing new card game. Beverage fruit punch case #6234 human gardener grows roses in vacuum of space because they looked sad. Beverage iced tea. Day 103. Dr. Quantum Mind's final log entry. We've reached a conclusion. The humans aren't accessing any strange power. They simply don't understand that they can't do these things, so they just do them. It's like they never got the memo that certain things are impossible. More worryingly, this effect appears to be spreading. We've documented cases of other species succeeding at impossible tasks just by thinking. What would a human with a beard do? In light of these findings, I'm recommending Project Beverage be classified as level 10 incomprehensible. Some things in this universe just aren't meant to be understood like humans or their beverages. Personal note: I'm retiring. Going to open a bar. Figure if you can't beat them, serve them. The report was filed in the Galactic Archives under things we've given up trying to explain, right between cat physics and why Earth music makes everyone dance. Meanwhile, in the Institute's cafeteria, a human intern looked at the malfunctioning food synthesizer that had been baffling repair crews for weeks. He handed his soft drink to a nearby researcher and said those words that now sent shivers through every alien's spine in the galaxy. Hold my soda, I think I see the problem. The researcher quickly sent out the standard alert notice: human beverage event in progress. Please evacuate all non-essential personnel and disable nearby reality monitors. Probability distortions imminent. This is not a drill. 3 minutes later, the food synthesizer was not only fixed but had somehow gained the ability to make perfect quantum zero gravity. On Tuesday's Dr. Quantum Mind's retirement paperwork was approved in record time. The Galactic Council's emergency alert system activated for the first time in 10,000 years, its ancient speakers creaking with disuse. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Reality collapse event detected in Sector 7. High Counselor Dax's crystals pulsed with barely contained panic as he reviewed the data. A quantum singularity had somehow achieved sentience, developed a taste for dark matter, and was now consuming entire solar systems like some kind of cosmic buffet. How long until it reaches populated space? He demanded. Admiral Cal's scales had gone completely white. 12 hours, sir. We've already lost the Kina cluster. The entity appears to be burping star systems, the greatest minds in the galaxy assembled within the hour. The Silicon Collective supercomputers ran trillion variable equations. The Organic Alliance's most powerful psychics attempted to reason with the cosmic entity. The Time Lords from the Chronos Institute tried to speed up time around the anomaly to make it die of old age. Nothing worked, sir, reported Lieutenant B. Conventional weapons have no effect. The entity appears to be laughing at our antimatter torpedoes. The Mathematics Guild's latest solution, Dax asked hopefully. They tried to divide by 0. To cancel it out, we lost 3 quantum calculators, and some created a small universe where everything is. Pasta desperation mounted as the entity continued its advance. It was now juggling neutron stars and using black holes as appetizers. The Galactic Council watched in horror as it belched up the remains of a solar system which emerged as a perfect replica made entirely of cheese. Then from the back of the emergency command center a voice spoke up. I bet humans would love to try fixing this. The room fell silent. Admiral Krall's tail twitched nervously. Surely you're not suggesting think about it, continued Dr. Blick's quantum mind, who had come out of retirement for this crisis. This is exactly the kind of impossible situation they specialize in. It's huge, it's ridiculous, and everyone says it can't be fixed, but they'll want to hold beverages, sputtered a physics guild representative. Exactly 20 minutes later, Earth received its first official galactic distress call. The message was simple: universe breaking need, humans, beverages permitted. The response was immediate: humanity's unified reply, cool road trip within hours. A hastily assembled team of Earth's most questionably qualified problem solvers arrived at Galactic Command. The team consisted of Tony Miller, a plumber from New Jersey who once fixed a quantum leak with duct tape, Dr. Wong, a physicist who solved mathematical proofs through interpretive dance, Jack Thompson, a part-time bartender who claimed he was pretty good at handling difficult customers, Maria Gonzalez, a retired roller derby coach who said she had some ideas about momentum. The council watched in mixed horror and hope as the humans reviewed the situation. Their response was not encouraging. Yep, that's a big one. All right, Tony said, sipping his coffee. Reminds me of that blocked drain in the Murray case. Remember that one, Jack? Oh yeah, that was nasty, but you know what, I think I got just the thing for this. The humans huddled together, occasionally glancing at the view screen showing the cosmic entity which was now trying to juggle quasars. Their discussion included phrases that made the assembled scientists cringe. What if we tried to? That's not technically impossible. My cousin did something like this once. I saw this in a movie. Finally, they turned to face the council. Maria stepped forward holding what appeared to be an ordinary cup of green tea. Okay, we've got a plan. Fair warning, it's really stupid. Will it work? Asked Dax desperately. Oh, definitely not, Lisa chimed in cheerfully. I mean, it violates about 17 fundamental laws of physics, which is why it'll probably work perfectly. Jack raised his hand. Quick question though, anybody got a really big speaker system and maybe some disco lights? What followed would later be redacted from most historical records, as the description alone caused several physics textbooks to spontaneously combust. The humans enacted their plan, which involved using the Galactic Communication Network as a giant speaker system, converting 14 quantum computers into what they called disco balls, somehow teaching the Silicon Collective's AIS to break dance, creating what Jack called the universe's biggest happy hour special. The moment of truth came as they faced the cosmic entity. The humans lined up, each holding their chosen beverage in perfect sync. They turned to Admiral Cathell. Hold our drinks, they said together, all of them. The Admiral's claws trembled as he accepted the various containers of coffee, beer, tea, and something called Aga slushy. Then they did it. They challenged a reality-devouring cosmic entity to a dance-off. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, muttered a quantum physicist. That's why it's going to work, replied Dr. Quantum Mind sagely, and work it did. The entity, confronted with the combined power of human audacity, terrible dance moves, and the sheer impossibility of their plan, paused its cosmic buffet. It watched, fascinated, as four humans proceeded to defy every law of physics, probability, and good taste. Maria called out the moves. Okay, everyone, the Macarena, but in 5 dimensions. Tony stopped trying to moonwalk through time. The entity, perhaps for the first time in its existence, appeared confused, then intrigued, then impossibly it began to dance to its working, shouted Lisa, while somehow doing the robot in Nanyukin space. Quick, Jack, offer it a drink. The part-time bartender produced a tail shaker from nowhere and proceeded to mix what he called a pang galactic gargle blaster. The drink glowed with mathematical impossibility. The entity took one sip and immediately transformed into a regular patron at Jack's bar. The crisis was over as reality stabilized and the galactic community breathed a collective sigh of relief. Admiral Krall turned to Dr. Quantum Mind. I don't understand. How did they know this would work? The doctor smiled wearily. They didn't. That's their secret. They never know if anything will work. They just try it anyway. But that's not how the universe is supposed to function. Tell that to the humans, he replied, watching as the team collected their beverages and began teaching the former cosmic horror entity how to play Darts, I don't think they got that memo. Official Galactic Council decree date. Star date 24,743. Subject: new protocols regarding human beverage events following the successful resolution of the reality-consuming entity crisis. Now operating a moderately successful bar in the Andromeda Galaxy, the Council hereby establishes the following protocols. Humanity is officially classified as a controlled chaos species with the subclassification Real ITY beverages. Pending, all spaceports must maintain a minimum stock of human beverages for emergency purposes. The phrase "hold my," followed by any beverage name, is now classified as a Class A reality alteration event trigger standard. Evacuation procedures apply, and that High Counselor Dax announced to the assembled representatives should handle the situation. Admiral Thul, sporting several new medals including the "I survived holding human beverages" commendation, cleared his throat. Sir, about the humans, yes, they've started franchising the council chamber. Erupted in panic on the main screen. Footage showed the newly established Hold My Beer Consulting LLC opening offices across 3 galaxies. Their business motto: if it's impossible, we'll find a way to do it anyway. More disturbing were the promotional materials. Got unsolvable problem, a reality-breaking crisis, an angry elder god who won't return your calls. Hold our beverages, we've got you covered. The company's first week saw them successfully teaching quantum physics to space dolphins, reverse engineering a black hole to power a coffee maker, solving a millennium-old puzzle by turning it upside down and poking it, establishing diplomatic relations with the species that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously, mostly by challenging them to karaoke. We can't stop them, Dr. Quantum Mind reported to the council. Other species are starting to adopt their methods. Last week, Aurelian asked someone to hold their tentacle juice before proceeding to redesign their entire planetary defense system using only interpretive dance and bubble wrap. The council's new response protocol was simple. Step 1: if a human says "hold my." Step 2: either run or record. There is no middle ground. Meanwhile, Earth established its first galactic emergency response team, nicknamed the Beverage Squad. Their headquarters featured a giant statue of a coffee mug with the inscription "To the Impossible. Hold my drink and watch this." The former cosmic horror entity, now known as Bob, became their biggest supporter. It sponsored an annual reality-bending competition called the Hold My Beer Games. The prize, a golden drink holder that allegedly existed in all dimensions simultaneously. Life in the galaxy adapted to the new normal. Species learned to recognize the warning signs. Humans grinning at problems labeled impossible. The casual passing of beverages. The words "hey, watch this." Anyone mentioning that time my cousin did something similar. But peace never lasts long in a universe with humans. Just 6 months after the new protocols were established, an alert came from the edge of known space. Sir Lieutenant Bick reported nervously, "We're detecting a temporal anomaly. Early readings suggest it's a Tuesday that thinks it's a Friday." High Counselor Dax's crystals dimmed. "Have we consulted the experts? The Mathematics Guild says it's impossible to fix. The Time Lords have declared it not their department, and the Physics Council representatives are all hiding under their desks, and the humans." Before Bick could answer, the door burst open. A human woman walked in wearing a lab coat covered in what appeared to be temporal graffiti. She carried a large cup of something that sparkled with dimensional instability. "Dr. Ruby Johnson, temporal mechanics and part-time bass guitar player," she announced cheerfully. "Heard you've got a day of the week acting up. It's completely impossible to." Began a physicist. Ruby's grin widened. She turned to Admiral Cahal, who was already reaching for her beverage with resigned familiarity. "Hold my quantum stabilized espresso," she said, pulling out what looked suspiciously like a temporal tuning fork. "I saw something like this in a cartoon once." The universe held its breath, and somewhere Bob, the former cosmic horror entity, began mixing drinks. Just another Tuesday, or possibly Friday, in a galaxy learning to cope with humanity's special brand of impossible solutions and transmission.